Hello, everyone. I have an update for you on the Matthew 24. One is taken, one is left, as it's commonly known. And of course, it's parallel, as we know it, in Luke 17. So to start Matthew 24, uh, I've already known a lot of this stuff, but I never quite put it together until quite recently. And that's what I wanted to share you with. That Matthew 24, again, is not talking about one's being taken in judgment and the others left. Um, some time ago, someone had a conversation where Jesus hasn't come back yet. It says that Jesus is coming back. That's how they understood it. But they had this big religion that was taken over by the Romans. You know, Constantine. At what point this happened, I don't know. But what's important to know is that they had a huge following and they were in charge of it. And there was a lot of power, and I'm sure they just weren't going to let it go. So, what did they do? They started to change and reimagine this part. And specifically in Matthew 24:36, but that day and hour no one knows, not even the Father alone. And they say, before that is historical, and that's correct. It is historical and it's accurate to history. But this part, Jesus is coming back later on. We don't really know. It's just going to happen one day, which is incorrect. The problem with everything after it has to be modified and changed in order to fit this new narrative. And it's quite easy to tell that it has been manipulated. First of all, in verse, say, 38 of 24, Matthew. For as in those days before the flood, when they say they, there is no they there. Okay, it doesn't exist. It was added by interpreters. And this kind of gets into my argument of people saying, well, you don't need to learn Greek. We got great interpretations here, great versions, and you don't need it. Well, you do, because they're lying to you. And they're lying to people here, and they're making this saying, this is somewhat, this is in the future. And this is somewhat more towards, judgment. Now, in Matthew 24, there's no judgment. The word for judgment is not used at all. And this they is added to kind of parallel Luke, I guess, because Luke, unequivocally, it's very, very certain that he says destroyed. But Luke is viewing it from a different angle. He has a different perspective. He's telling a different side to the same story. And in a different place, too, because Luke's parallel happens earlier in Matthew. That's verse 15 through 28. But here we have Jesus coming in the clouds in verse 30. And in 31, he's going to send forth his angels with a great trumpet and gather his elect from one end of the sky to the other. Now we know from 13 in Matthew chapter 13, he's going to first, after the harvest, gather up the evil ones, basically, I'm paraphrasing, and throw them into the fire, and then he's going to gather up his elect and put it in the barn. Here, he doesn't talk about anything. If it was in line with what was said in chapter 13, it would have happened before that. And maybe something where he says they'll see the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and then the tribes of the earth will mourn. That might have something to do with it. But here it doesn't talk about anyone getting bound up. Instead, the closest thing is in chapter 25 of Matthew. But this narrative that this is still future is an absolute corruption of Scripture. It's a lie. It's a very old lie, but it's a lie. It's a manipulation, and everyone believes it. It's amazing. Everyone thinks that the Christian is going to be persecuted, but they're not going to be persecuted because they're lied to. You don't need to. They already control you. They already control Christianity because they've manipulated Scripture so much to the point where you don't even know what it's saying. Because, and this is the most important thing that you need to understand, this is talking about first century people. In 40 and 41, two men are in the field, one is left, two women grinding. These are first century people. These are people that are probably living in the time of Jesus when he's saying this, and will still be living 40 years later during the sacking, the siege of Jerusalem in the spring, April of 70 AD. That's when this takes place, not in the future. The rapture narrative, I found out, I guess I kind of knew about it, but I didn't know that much about it. But there's a theory, the rapture people, which of course isn't real, that, you know, this is the rapture. And it's funny because that is actually closer to what this is saying than this all-millennialist view that, you know, this is talking about Jesus coming back, just like the flood, and he's going to and all the people are going to be destroyed. That's the exact opposite of what it's saying. So what is it saying? Again, these are first century people. This was 2,000 years ago. This is not in the future. This they, in verse 38, was added. So what it's really saying is the coming of the Son of Man will just be like the days of Noah. They were eating, for in those days, they were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until Noah entered the ark. And they did not know or perceive, gnosko, which means knowledge. They didn't have any knowledge of, until the flood came and lifted them all. Now, Matthew uses the exact same word, aren, that they did in Genesis 7. You need to read Genesis 6, 7, and 8, okay? But most of this is found in Genesis 7, at the midway point around 14, verse 14 of 7. But it's raised them all. Paralambano. Now, this, and they did not know, or they did not understand, this, in this version of the NASB 2020, or the NASB 95, sorry. That's a real sticking point, because Noah knew that it was going to happen, right? That is true. But if you read carefully, you'll notice that Noah was told to build the ark. And he knew destruction was coming, just like Jesus knew destruction was coming. But they didn't know when it was going to happen. That's what Jesus is saying here. This is Matthew's take of what Jesus is saying, or the way he thinks Jesus is saying it, or the point he's making. But what Matthew is saying here is Jesus is telling people the coming of the Son of Man is just going to be like the days of Noah. Everything will be normal. They'll be eating and drinking and getting married. As you know, Noah had sons and daughters-in-law and a wife. He was told to build the ark. And then later on, and it's kind of jammed together, Jesus, or the Lord, God, just walks up and says, all right, Noah, get in the ark. Get in the ark and fill it full of animals, and I'm going to seal it up behind you. So 7 days from now, he says 7 days from now, this is going to happen. The flood's going to come. If you read carefully, you'll see what I mean. This correlation between what Jesus is saying and Noah is that, just like Jesus is saying, but at that, in 36, but at the day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor Jesus himself, but the Father alone. Noah did not know when the flood was coming. God didn't say, you got 30 days, make it happen. No. He said, get ready. Kind of like our survivalists today. Get food, build this ark, get ready for it, right? But he didn't tell them what it was going to be. Just like Jesus, he didn't tell them when it was going to be because he said he couldn't. He didn't know. So that's where this part comes in, and they did not gnosko, perceive until the flood came. That's exactly how it happened in chapter 7. God walked up to them and said, all right, it's time. You got 7 days. Get that ark ready. And on the day that it started to flood, when the skies opened and the faucets were turned on, Noah was in the ark. God sealed it behind him. And the flood waters, like a bathtub, it just filled up, right? There's barely any mention of the people. They're only mentioned after the people, after the animals. Everything that breathed on earth was destroyed. And when the flood came, over a period of 40 days, it took 40 days, I guess, to fill the earth up with water. So it wasn't a tsunami. It didn't just come in and destroy everyone in a millisecond. If that were true, the ark would have been busted up and destroyed. It wouldn't have been able to take a destruction like that. It filled up, and according to what's described in Genesis 7, if you'll read it in the Septuagint, the LXX, the floodwaters came and they used board up, but it's epirin, E-P-I-R-N. It raised the ark on top of the water. That's what epi means, upon. And just like here, this is what it's saying. Noah entered the ark, and they did not understand. Just like the people there, they don't know. They know it's going to happen. They just don't know when it's going to happen. And that's what Jesus is likening it to. Until the flood came and raised them all. And it's even the same word, minus the ep, or epi, that's used in the Septuagint. And these are very strong clues of what's going on here. And I'm trying to take away all the nonsense and bring it back to what it originally was. Because this is saying, our people are saying this is about some kind of future coming. But it's already happened. These people, one is taken, one is left, one is received, and one is left behind. Now these people, if you'll notice, in 40 and 41, takes place after the abomination of desolation. Jesus says the sign you're looking for is the abomination of desolation. In Luke, it's the Roman army. When you see it, run. So by now, these people are out of the city, the ones that were told. So I don't think, and 40 and 41 is kind of tricky. It's vague, it's cryptic. So is the whole where the eagles are, or the vultures are, the bodies will be. It's not quite clear exactly what's going on. I can't make a lot of sense of it as of right now, as of the time of recording. But what I am sure of is verses 38 through 39 leading into 40 has nothing to do. They're not even referring to the people that were destroyed during Noah's time. Not at all. If you look at the Greek, there is no they. And raised them all, it's not took them all away or swept them away. It's raised them all. Who's raised them all? Noah, the ark, the people, the animals. Raised them all. That's what it's saying. There is no they. They did not know, which is a really tricky spot. But they did not have knowledge, just like Jesus didn't have, and just like they didn't have. They didn't have knowledge of when in time it was going to happen. They knew that it was going to happen, and they needed to be prepared, just like Noah. Needed to get ready, needed to be prepared. With Jesus, he's saying, where's the tree? 32. Learn the parable of the tree. the fig tree. Remember that in 32? When you know summer's near when you start to see the tree becoming tender and putting forth its leaves, right? That's what he's training these people to look out for what? The abomination of desolation. Okay? And when they see it in 15, the abomination of desolation, they need to run. They need to get out of there. Because if they don't, they're going to be destroyed. And that's Luke's message in chapter 17, which we're going to go to real quick. And if you put all these together, you can see quite clear that they're all connected. But these two stories in Matthew 24 and Luke 17, they're talking about kind of the same subject. But Matthew goes back into it. Because Jesus already came and the angels came. He sent forth his angels, which is the part I forgot. So this 40 and 41 that I was going to go back to, but I'll do it now. It's not one is taken, one is left. And the taken is the bad people. Okay. The people already left the city. Okay. So whoever these people are, they're not around Jerusalem. Because it wouldn't make any sense that the people who are the elect, okay, that are waiting for the abomination of desolation to still be there. They're not going to be there in Jerusalem at that time, at that sequence, in that chapter. They're not a factor. They're not one is taken, one is left, because those people are gone. So whomever that's talking about, whoever he's referring to, which seems to be a reoccurring theme, it's kind of like a, if you lie with dogs, you're going to get fleas kind of thing. So whatever he's saying is, it's just a generalization of people. Not around Jerusalem, I'm pretty sure, because it just doesn't fit. One will be received, one will be left behind, cast off. What does receive mean? Receive means parlambano means received. Okay, you can look at it like John 14:3. I will come and receive you to myself. But you have to understand that when Jesus comes, he says he's going to send his angels out. So he's coming from above and he's coming down, and he will parlambano one of them, and the other one will be left. So the angels will be collecting people, just like it says, from one end of the world to the other. There'll be two in the field. One will be taken, one will be left. Two people grinding at the mill. One will be taken, one will be left, right? But it's not taken in judgment. They're going to be raised. The angels are going to come down, and they're going to raise them back up. As best as I can tell, is what it's saying. I don't think raised and parlambano are an exact match, but if you look at the imagery of it, it's the same thing. But I think, in all honesty, I think it's a view that I have, and it's not quite an insert, because they are connected, just not a literal basis, a literary basis. So the angels are going to be sent by Jesus to go down and to parlambano people all over the world. Two will be in the field. One will be received and taken up. Just like the image that Jesus is referring to in Matthew 24. They'll get in the ark and they'll be raised. That's what it says, arin. They'll be raised. And that's what he says. It will just be like the day. He finishes. Noah entered the ark, and they did not understand until the flood came and lifted them all. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. That's right before verse 40. So will be coming the Son of Man. That's exactly how it's going to happen. He's going to come. The angels are going to go receive him. And they're going to be raised just like Noah. And just like Noah, they don't know. They know they need to get ready for it, but they don't know. And this 40 and 41 is just a generalization an overall worldly view. Look, there's going to be people in the field. You don't know which one's going to be. One will be received, one will be left behind. Now, in Luke, he uses this cryptic, where the bodies are, there the eagles will be. It seems that those people are going to meet some sort of destruction, because in Luke, we'll start off Luke 17:26. And they get into the same thing. It'll be just like the days of Noah. Now, everyone just assumes that this is some sort of parallel. They've even added all kinds of stuff. Like what was it? Verse 36, that's added. That's not in the original manuscripts. And the way they term 35 and 34, they've added words to it that's not there. They're making assumptions. They're assuming it's the exact same thing. Again, I think it's someone else's take on you lie with dogs, you're going to get fleas. But it's not the exact same thing. Luke's view is different. Luke's view is coming from the side of destruction. That's why he used destroyed twice at the end of when Jesus gets done talking about Noah. They were destroyed. Lot, the city was destroyed. Then, now listen to this. This is what Luke's perspective is. And this is what he's telling these people. And it's parallels over in Matthew 15, right? That's the parallel, not 24. 15 and on. It will just be the same day, singular, that the Son of Man is revealed. What is revealed? Abomination of desolation, the Roman army, right? And you also have to understand that this is not on the Olivet, the Mount of Olives. This is something else. This is somewhere else and somewhere else in time. So obviously this is a big deal, and they've discussed it numerous times. And the reason Jesus is telling them this is because it's horrible. It's destruction. Everything that they've known their whole lives and the generations that come before them are going to be destroyed. The temple is going to be gone. Everything's going to change. But they're going to get out. They're going to survive. They're going to live on. Even better, they're going to get the reward that all their ancestors were looking forward to. This is more of a reassurance. This is training. Saying, look, this is what needs to happen. I'm warning you. I'm telling you. Don't go out and meet these people in the wilderness or in the rooms. I'm like a some people put it into the sunrise. From one end of the sky, I'm like lightning. I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to be in some room. That's not how it's going to work. So don't go after them. Where the body is, their vultures will be gathered. And in Matthew, he uses corpse. But here he uses body. But we go back to Noah, they're destroyed. And on the day that he was revealed, the one who is on the housetop must run. Whoever's in the field must not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Remember this? So they're running out of Jerusalem. This is Jerusalem. That's the abomination of desolation. Run out of Jerusalem, as it's later described in Luke 21, when the Roman army comes. If you're out of the city, according to Mark, don't go back in. It's going to be destroyed. 34. Now this is very important, because this is taking it back to an equal time of when Jesus is speaking. They're talking about the same time frame, almost. The same day, at least. The same 24-hour period. The Son of Man's going to come, and that's where we are right now. The Son of Man has come. And Jesus is saying, I tell you, on that night, there will be two in one bed. One will be received, the other will be left. There will be two grinding in the same, is what it says. One will be received, the other will be left. 36 doesn't exist. Verse 36, the two men in the field, that's added later. Okay? And answering, they said to him, "Where, Lord?" And you get this cryptic. And he said to them, "Where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered." And if you look over back in Matthew, it's where they're chasing after people that are chasing after this Messiah that Jesus is saying isn't me. So you have to put that into its context in that frame. So you see how Luke is different than Matthew. You have different perspectives because they're talking about different points in time about the destruction of the temple in April of 70. Okay? Roman army comes, the abomination of desolation, you get out. When the Son of Man comes, I'm going to send the angels out, Jesus, and they're going to receive you from one end of the earth to the other. So this is not talking about some sort of future rapture or some sort of future. I think the omnilist view is a horn's going to blow and he's just going to show up. And he's just going to, I don't know. I don't know what their view is because it's just ridiculous. But that's not what's being said here at all. This is all past. It's proven by the way it's written, and it's locked in. There's no way you can get out of it. You can lie, and you can go to school, and you can read a lot of books and learn how to manipulate the situation, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I myself have been deceived for a long time. This whole, well, they did not know. Well, Noah knew, right? Yeah, but then again, he didn't. It's just like the people he was speaking to, his apostles. And Jesus himself was in that boat. If you don't mind that pun. They knew it was going to happen. They were being told. But they didn't know when. And Noah didn't know either. Until God came up and said, "You got 7 days. Get it together. Get in there. And I'm gonna kill everyone. I'm going to flood this entire planet. Everyone's going to die." And it's just like what Jesus is saying. I don't know when it's going to happen, but when you see the army come in, run. Because if you don't, according to Luke, you're going to be destroyed. Okay? And don't worry. I'm telling you ahead of time. You'll be spared. And when I come back, I'm going to send out my angels, and they're going to receive you. And that's what's being said here. This is a message of reassurance and hope, if you will. Okay, this is something loving and positive. It's not talking about destruction. It's all made up. It's all made up to fit a new narrative that they have put into Matthew and everywhere else. I mean, this thing is riddled with falsehoods and manipulation. And it is the leading view of the New Testament. And it's all a lie. It's fake. You can look it up. It's there. If you dare to look at it. That's the biggest thing. Are you here to do what you want to do? Are you here to hear the things you want to hear? Or are you here to say, "Father, I want to know what you have to tell me. I'm here on your time. I'm here to do what you want me to do because you know best and I trust you. And whatever you say, or whatever I understand you to be saying, I'll do. I'm here to learn, not to do whatever I want to do." And that's the whole point of this. That's why we're here on earth. Who's going to do what God wants to do? Who's going to do whatever they want to do? And say, "Oh, the Lord told me to do it." Everyone's different. And everyone's going to be judged right now. I'm being judged right now. Am I lying to you? Or am I telling you the truth? Because if I'm lying to you, I'll be judged for it. If I don't know that I'm lying, then that's a different story. But I'm not. So, read, and pray.